Hello and welcome to Transformation Now, a division of SoaringHigher.rocks, where I work with you on career and image and motivation, and just my heart is really to help people in all areas of their life. Hi, I'm Rita Rocker Kraft, and I'm a speaker, international author, and trainer, and my heart is to provide programs that you can start using immediately and ones that will last a lifetime. And today what I'd like to talk with you about is writing a new chapter in the book of your life. Because so many times life does twists and turns and we literally have to start over again. And I've had to do that many, many times in life. You know, many of life's greatest lessons, though, are learned during the tough times. And we don't really like to think about that, but it's so true. We get stronger, we learn new skills, and we realize that we can go farther, we can go higher through those tough times because we've learned and we've grown and we've gotten stronger. So I want to encourage you with that. You know, I had many times in my life where it was really a hard struggle and I had to start over again and write new chapters and new chapters. And so I want to encourage you that you can do that too. I remember many years ago, I was Mrs. Nebraska and I had gone to the Mrs. America pageant, but my husband was extremely ill with bone marrow cancer, and we really didn't have the money to even get what I needed to go to the national pageant. But then I realized a year later to the day when I was standing on a rock porch at an unfinished orphanage in Haiti covered with bug bites as a widow, I thought, wow, how many things have transpired in this last year? And it was really, really a struggle for me. And yet going to Haiti and seeing all the devastation there was hard, but it was one of the best lessons I ever learned about the things that we have to be grateful for and that we can pick ourselves up, we can dust our knees off, and we can get back in the race. You know, I grew up poor and always felt like I was worthless. And so I quit everything I started instead of moving on to a lot of fulfilling and good goals. I remember in third grade, my teacher always acted like I was stupid. And yet with the Scholastic Aptitude test that we took that year, I rated 97% nationally. And so then she finally started treating me with a little bit more kindness, so I say. But that just kind of went on through my life. As I grew up and went through so many things that really were hard, and a lot of it I brought on myself because of that feeling of worthlessness. I went through a lot of domestic violence, and that again kept telling me that, yeah, you're no good, that's all you deserve. We don't even realize that we're thinking that so much outwardly, you know, that it's coming from inside. And so those little lies keep happening a lot of times, and we're all precious children of God. And so that's really not true. I went through lots of surgeries and illnesses. I went through divorce, was widowed from my husband who has been so terribly sick. I lost my son through most of his growing up years, and God miraculously brought him back to me after his service over in Iraq. I did a lot of drugs and alcohol for one reason. That was to escape who I was, because I didn't like myself, and that's why a lot of times people do that. It's an escape, but it's not the one that we want to take. And so did a lot of caregiving for family as well, and that was hard. So through life, went through a lot of hardships, a lot of poverty, a lot of abuse, so many things. And then, you know, between 2014 or early 15 and 16, I had gone through 5 surgeries on my head, a brain tumor, a jawbone tumor, a shunt in my head. I have a titanium implant for a hearing device, got Meniere's disease, my colon ruptured. I got the shingles on my face. The brain tumor was lots of fun. And then 2 more back surgeries underneath the one that I'd had before. And then my thyroid kind of messed up. So it's like, how much more can we stand? Well, we keep going. We keep getting back up. We keep going forward no matter what. I've read so many miraculous stories of people who have overcome really hard things in their lives. And I remember Bob Wieland that I shared in a previous program, whose legs were blown off in Vietnam. And so he didn't want to just sit in a wheelchair the rest of his life. He wanted to get out and he wanted to be inspirational to other people. So he entered He built up his upper body because he had absolutely no legs at all, and entered an international weightlifting championship, and he won it for things like, you know, the bench press and all of those. But they took the title away from him because he wasn't wearing regulation clothing, which included shoes. The man had no legs, and that broke my heart. But then he said, you know what, I'm not going to even let that tear me down. So he had these things built for his hands and the trunk of his body, and he walked across America. It took him 2 years to try to show people you can do anything you want to do in your life, and also to help raise money for hungry children. And so always think about that. No matter what you've gone through, there are new things out there to do. And so you can literally write a new chapter of your life, just like Bob Whelan did twice. Okay, so a lot of times, you know, our life is shifted, shaken, reshuffled, and it's like, good grief. I had so many dreams, I had so many goals, so many things in my heart that I wanted to do when I was younger, and now it's like, oh my gosh, I'm too old. No, you're never too old, never, ever, ever. We can lose a job, we can lose children, we can have children come back, we can have a health crisis, our spouse or family member can have one, death of a loved one, people leave. Those are all things that say, hey, let's write a new chapter in your life for that particular issue. And so it opens up doors to opportunities as well, for new opportunities. Okay, everybody's gone now, I can go to school, or I can start my own little business, or I can go on a missions trip. So think of those things that you can now do, even if it's hard at first, that you couldn't do before, and look at that as new opportunities. A lot of times if you experienced issues that hindered you in the past, this is the time now, as you're writing a new chapter, to bring back the things that maybe you put on the shelf when you were a kid even, and then life got in the way and too many other things happened, and you weren't able to do what you really wanted to do. So I'd really encourage you to do that. You know, you think, you getting older? No, you're just getting started. And let that, if you say that to yourself, you literally feel a lift in your spirit. And so I would encourage you. It says, could it possibly that age only counts in fine wine and cheese? Let's think of it that way, because that's so true. You know, by the time we've reached 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, a lot of times we push those dreams back on the shelf. But I've seen people like, there was an 80-year-old woman who got her college degree, a 65-year-old woman who was able to fly a plane and get her pilot's license. I've seen so many of those situations where you even think of Colonel Sanders with Kentucky Fried Chicken. He was 65 years old. His wife had left, his family fell apart. He was living in his car. He had no money. He was broke. And his life looked like it was going to end, because what am I going to do now? I mean, I'm kind of sitting here all alone with no money. And look what happened. He started Kentucky Fried Chicken, which became a huge, huge business. But it didn't start out that way. And so even if you're 65, 70, there are still things that you can do because you have all the experience now that a lot of people don't have. So never, you know, think about that as being too old. We're never too old. We're God's kids, so that's that. Also, you know, a lot of times life has taken a different course because of kids, because of jobs, because we got into a bad relationship that tore us down. We didn't get to go to school like we wanted to because there were too many other things. Well, now is your chance. Write a new chapter. And so there might be legitimate reasons for a while, but is it fear and lack of confidence that are now keeping you held back? Did with me for years, and still sometimes hits me, gee, I don't know if I can do this. I'm afraid to. Well, that's fear. That's not real. That's not who you really are. And so if you think, I'm too old, no. I'm broke. You know how many people who started businesses like Colonel Sanders who didn't have anything? And so that we can still work beyond. I don't have the education other people do. I'm taking care of a child or an aged person. I'm a caregiver. What can I do? Well, we'll talk about some things you can do there too. My kids, my partner, there's illness, etc. There's so many things that can happen to us. And yet I've seen a young lady who had a baby. She had no arms. She was also able to drive a car. I think of Bob Whelan, who did that, walked across America on his hands. I've seen people play the piano with their feet, play the guitar with their feet, and people that, you know, didn't have body parts, and yet they're very, very successful because they made up their mind that that's what they were going to do. Something happened to them, but they wrote a new chapter in their life. And so I want to encourage you with that. Some hindrances are legitimate for a season. You know, there's something that happened, and so we have to slow down. We have to take that, like with the things that I went through or a loved one went through. But then that season ends. There's always a new season. And I would think this too shall pass. This thing that's holding me down shall pass, and I'll be able to move forward again and be able to go out and really accomplish my heart's desire. You know, sometimes we think about the brass ring. I don't know if you've ever heard of the term reaching for the brass ring. Well, how that started was used to be brightly painted carousels with ponies and kind of a merry-go-round, and this carousel would go around and around and around, and people loved to get on it. But above the seats, there was a place where there was a box hanging down, but you had to really reach high in order to grasp it. It had little rings in it, and little plastic rings, and most of them were black, except that once in a while there would be a brass-colored ring, which they called the gold ring. And if somebody could jump up high enough and grab that ring, they grabbed the brass ring. And what that showed was that they could pursue their dreams, that they were going forward and be able to achieve their hopes and their dreams. So I want you to think about grabbing for that brass ring, that thing that you wanted to do, but for some reason life got in the way. Keep reaching, keep reaching. You can get that brass ring and feel so much better about life and do what you've really wanted to do. I remember one time when I was speaking to a group of women in Iowa, and a lady who had recently lost her husband and her daughter within that year, and she was about 75 years old, said, "Oh, I'm too old, I don't have anything to offer, I have nothing to give." And I said, "Whoa, wait a minute, you have so much experience. You can help so many people who are going through so many of life's challenges. You could make a full ministry out of this, and be able to help people to move on in life." And so I really wanted to encourage her, and she got such a big smile on her face because she realized, no, if I move out and move forward, I can use all my experiences to help other people who are going through the same thing. So always think of it that way. You always have so much to give to other people. So think about current lifestyle, and what are some things that maybe need to be kicked out? Think about that. What is your true heart's desire? What do you really want to do in life, your most important goal? It may be that when you were younger you wanted to be a nurse, and now you're 45, 48 years old. I've seen people actually go through school and become a nurse, for instance, at an older age, when we would think, oh, can't do that now. Oh, yes, you can. Or be an artist, or be an author, or take over a whole new kind of career. So many times when we grow up, we're doing what a parent or a teacher or someone said that we should do, instead of what's really in here, what's really in our heart. And I have a friend whose husband came over from Cuba when he was 12 years old, and he went to a high school in Omaha. And obviously, when he was first here, his English was very broken because he came from another country. And his school counselor said, well, you need to be a laborer, find some kind of vocation where you can just be a laborer, because you're not going to amount to anything. And not there's anything wrong with being a laborer, that is awesome. But that wasn't his heart's desire. So many, many years later, he's working the emergency room as a doctor in the hospital, and guess who comes in and needs emergency help? That same counselor. And so he let him know, I'm the one that you told back in this particular year that I couldn't amount to anything. And here he was, his doctor. So again, we can prove people wrong all the time. So answer honestly without worrying about how you can accomplish it. What do you really want to do? You know, some people, you say, oh, well, you should be a doctor or an attorney. Those are always the ones. And it's no, you wanted to be a firefighter, or you wanted to have a really cute little leather shop in the mountains, whatever the case might be. What do you want to do? Not what somebody wanted you to do. Sometimes parents want their child to be like a very skilled sports person. And what they really want to do is they want to play music, or they want to do something different. So what do you want to do? Not what somebody expected you to do. Positive image is vital. So what do you believe your personal image is right now? Happy, sad, confident, angry, frustrated? Do you feel like you could go out and win the world or not? What is your personal image? How do you feel about yourself? How do you feel about your appearance, for instance, and your professional image? You know, sometimes we compare what we feel like we lack with other person's skills, and maybe some person is really good at something that you are too, but you didn't get the education. And companies are looking for people who have more the attitude and the drive and the outlook than they are maybe the technical or educational skills. You can learn those, but a lot of things with attitude the person already has to have. So I just want to encourage you with that and think, what do I want to change? You know, I've thought about that through the years. Well, I need to be more comfortable speaking to people. I need to fix up my appearance. I need to change things with my attitude, because I remember many years ago when I worked at the Labor Department for the boss of the unemployment division, and the lady who I was teaching modeling classes for, and she was my mentor, even though she was usually very ruthless with me and not very nice a lot of times. And she called and she said, "Wow, you sound so unprofessional." And at first I thought, well, to you too. And then I thought, you know, she's right. I started listening to myself, swallowed my pride, listened to myself, and I thought, oh my gosh, she's right. I sound very unprofessional. And so I changed that. And so we can change those things all the time. I mean, sometimes we have to shift so many things in our life. Sometimes you see a workaholic. Why are they doing that? Maybe it's because they want to avoid situations at home, so they're going to get lost in their work. You know, what are the things that we're doing? Relationships, educations, programs, makeovers. There's so many things that we can do to move forward in life and not stay stuck. I have been stuck so many times in my life. And no, God has a purpose and a plan for your life. And so you want to go forward with that. If it's still in your heart and it's been in your heart for years, that's something that God gave you. And that's something to pursue and not keep pushed down any longer. And I don't care if you're 60 or 70 years old. And I've had to talk to myself about age and going forward too. But we can do it. We can do it for sure. Until now, how much time have you spent on yourself? Very much, or not much at all, because there were too many other things going on. Your family, your career, how much time have you really spent on those? And maybe there's some adjustments that need to be made, and start saying no to people who want you to do everything for them, so that you have time to actually take care of yourself and balance your life out better. What's different now? An empty nest. Okay, sometimes people get really depressed when they have an empty nest. What am I going to do with myself now? Now is your time to go out and take classes and join organizations that you really enjoy. Take up pickleball. You can get free lessons for that. Things like that that will really help you to gain confidence in your life. Empty nest, married, widowed, divorced. Okay, I've been through those things a few times and understand. That's when you pray for new friends, you pray for new opportunities, and God will bring you new friends. He'll bring you things into your life, connections that will actually help you to move forward. So are you spending more or less money now? You know, sometimes if we don't have the funds, we don't have the money, what do? We find people that we can trade, that we can barter with. Like maybe you're a caregiver, and so you can't get away very much, but can you have a bartering system with someone else who can come in maybe once or twice a week at least, stay with your loved one for a few hours that you normally give care to? In exchange for that, you could use your great accounting skills, work with them on bookkeeping, you could do some cooking for them. Whatever your skills are, you can trade and do something for them that they need help with, and they can help you. So please think about bartering with other people for time, for skills, for the help that you need and they need. And that can build up such awesome relationships while you are building your life back up at the same time. You know, it could be finding a partner just to work out with. So you have somebody to help motivate you to get the blood flowing, get exercising, someone who you trust to maybe help you with your image, with your speech, like when that lady called me out on how I was answering the phone. Finances, people who can help us learn how to finance. You know, in school, they don't really teach people a lot of the life skills they need, or even how to balance a checkbook. And so if you have those skills, somebody needs them, barter. You know, you can trade. A certain kind of craft or gift that you have, trade. Those are really good ways to learn, to get new friendship, and to be able to grow. So I would encourage you to not look at the rear view mirror anymore. You know, if you can't move forward while you're looking to the rear view mirror, and that is so true. What is the past? It's past. And so we can't let the past continue to rule us, but to move forward instead, looking forward at those new gifts you have. So I'd like you to think of the motto, step aside life, step aside world, I'm coming through. And really think about that, and it'll actually help build you up inside just by saying that. So not allowing negative things from the past to continue to pull us down. Okay, that's very, very important. A lot of things you can like, okay, well, maybe I don't want a job. Maybe I'm retired or whatever the case may be. Maybe you've wanted to start a civic organization that really stokes fire down in your soul. Okay, this might be the time to do that, or get involved with another one while you learn the skills for starting your own civic organization. And I've been involved with various organizations. You learn skills, you grow, and then you're equipped to start one that's really in your heart to start. Another thing could be, doing something that you love. It might not be a career, it might not be for a marriage partner or something like that, but fulfilling a creative need, for instance. You know, you have all this creativity and you want to build and you want to make things that people love. It could be jewelry, it could be furniture, whatever the case may be. Art or dance lessons. And honestly, if you don't have the funds for that, or you live in a rural area where maybe things aren't that plentiful, you go on YouTube, you can find anything on there. Dance lessons, makeup lessons, how to present yourself and speak, all kinds of things to build yourself up. So make it a goal for new educational programs. Maybe take an hour out every day that you'd normally use for, say, watching TV and read, or get on YouTube and start searching for and participating in those things that will really build you up. It could be joining a gym. You know, there's a gym in Omaha and other locations that's only $10 a month, which is a good price, and it's full of equipment. So that would be something if you want to get better shape and feel better, have more energy to do that. Interesting seminars, work with groups, be a mentor to someone who's struggling in an area. I struggled in math, and I would have loved to have had a mentor to help me in my earlier years. Volunteering at a hospital or a shelter, cuddling babies that are, in the neonatal intensive care, working at a pet shelter, all of those things to really help you feel better, feel like you're contributing to society, and that in turn builds up a lot of confidence. So I'd really recommend that you try that. It's never too late to reinvent yourself, never, no matter how many times you have to do it. Chronological age does not count, so remember that. That saying, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always had. Well, isn't that the truth? And I've learned that the hard way a lot of times. So what's holding me back? Is it a bad relationship? I've seen that not only in my own life, but in so many people, like Dr. Cheryl Wazinski talked about in the previous program that we had. She detects a lot of domestic violence when people come to her physical therapy business. And so think of those things. What do I have to break loose from? A lot of times a sibling or family, friends that we have will say, oh, you can't do that. No, you shouldn't do that. Oh, you're not capable of doing that. And why are they doing that? Because they want to keep us stuck down where they are. And so a lot of times you literally have to pray for new friends or new acquaintances or a new job where you're in a whole different environment, and then you can grow. But a lot of times it's a tough change. We do it, and boy, are we happy that we did. So I want you to think about that. Think about the kind of energy that you're giving off. Is it positive, negative, forceful, supportive, energetic, depressed, hopeful, helpless, determined, deflated? And so think about that. Stop and think, how did I just come off to someone? Oh, gee, I was really in a bad mood, and my shoulders were all rolled down, and I was not feeling good about myself. Stop and think about, would I want to talk to myself, the way I sound, the way I'm carrying myself, would I want to talk to me? And a lot of times you can go, oh, no, I can perk it up. I can smile, I can do those things and be engaged with eye contact with somebody and, change some of those habits. We don't have to keep the hand that we've been dealt with in life, because so many times that'll happen as we grow up. But, when you see youngsters who grew up pretty much in shelters, being at Harvard and Yale and some of those schools, you know that the mind said, nope, not going to do that. I'm going to go forward in life and seek new opportunities. Seek out positive people again, pray for new friends, pray for new opportunities, job opportunities. Think about if this person is encouraging me, hey, great. If this person is discouraging me and saying things about me that are negative and holding me down, nope, that ends right now. So think about that. You do have the opportunity to write a new chapter in your book, and I want you to think about that. What do you desire to change? Relationships, health, finances, career. What is preventing me from going forward? Think about that so you can make those changes. And just lastly, leaving you with one comment about Walt Disney. When he grew up with his brother on a farm up north, and his father was very abusive, and they made them work on the farm from before dawn till they went to bed, and they never got to experience a good life. But what happened was he desired to make a place where people could enjoy life and to grow and to have fun. And even though when he started Disneyland, or wanted to, nobody gave him any support at all, no finances, nothing, and yet he decided, I'm going to do it, and he did, and he created the most fantastic place for us. And we can do the same thing. So if Walt Disney can do something so profound and miraculous, think of what you can do with that magic pen called your mind. Thank you so much. We'll see you again next time. God bless.